All right, guys, straight to the point. We are a bad team. Like, there is nothing good about this team as of this moment. The showing that we put on the field today was atrocious. It was embarrassing. And honestly, it was shameful, the way the team came out. Oh, look, there's my cat joining us. He's unhappy about it too. But yeah, the showing that we put on the field was absolutely unacceptable. And yeah, we're a bad team. So before I get into my reaction, I am Ramy B. If you are new here, make sure you click the subscribe button down below. I post weekly Buccaneer reaction videos, and today's video is going to be a little more ranty, a little more emotional, I guess we'd say. But we did lose today to the Buffalo Bills on Thursday Night Football. We lost 18-24, and the score was not, the game was not as close as the score warrants. Offensively, we put up 302 yards, 224 passing, 78 rushing, while the Buffalo Bills put up 427 yards, 312 passing, 115 rushing. Again, continuing the trend of our rush defense struggling. But I will start with the offense. I'm going to go over some stats and then kind of my critiques, and then we'll go into the defense. So offensively, Baker Mayfield completed 25 passes out of 42 attempts for 237 yards and 2 touchdowns. Baker played a horrible game. It seems to me that after the bye week and as the season has gone on, Baker has seemed less confident. He looks like a deer in the headlights. His throws don't have as much zip to him, especially on out routes and things like that. This is not the same Baker that opened up the season a 3-1. So there's definitely something wrong there. And I see a lot of people calling for Trask, and I don't think Trask would be an improvement per se. The run game, again, atrocious. Rashad White had a better game, 4.3 yards per carry, but he had 39 yards on 9 attempts. Chase Edmonds, 3 carries for 5 yards. Keyshawn Vaughn, 1 for 1. A total of 16 carries by our backs. Chris Godwin had a rush as well, and then Baker Mayfield had a couple scrambles that changed the number a little bit. On the receiving end, Rashad White, 7 catches for 70 yards. Chris Godwin, 5 for 54 and a touchdown with a missed Hail Mary, which I will get into. Mike Evans had 3 for 39 and a touchdown. Nobody else had above 30 yards. However, my biggest critique really is, so prior to the game, we heard Baker say, like, you know, we're reviewing the offense and it's starting to look like that, you know, we're not a run first team and maybe we're not built to run. And again, I mean, we only rushed for what, 15 carries, 16 carries. Sorry, no, we rushed, 16 carries total. But the number that's really concerning to me is Rashad White had a total of 16 touches. Passing, 7 receiving touches, 7 receiving catches, and 9 rushes. He had 16 total. Meanwhile, Chris Godwin and Mike Evans had 8 touches total. And I think that is the problem with this offense. And it was the same way last year when Leonard Fournette was like leading the team in receptions at one point. We are not putting the ball in our playmakers' hands. We are not scheming our playmakers wide open. Evans had a target or 2 in the first half and then disappeared until the end of the fourth quarter, end of the game. There's definitely something fundamentally flawed, even to the point, I get it, we only rushed 16 times. We were also down, and that contributed. But it was the fourth quarter, and we were still down 14, rushing 2 times in a row. 1st and 10, getting a yard or 2. 2nd and 10, getting another yard or 2. Again, this dedication to the run, and we're not even running to gain yards. It's like we're running just to say that we're balanced, and that is a big problem with this offense. Another issue is that drive that we scored, the second to last drive that we had. We took over 8 minutes to go down like 16 or 17 plays to score a touchdown, 70-some yard drive. At one point, it was like 15 or 16 plays over 7 minutes. We got the ball, I want to say, with like 10 minutes left, 11, and we ended up scoring with like 2 minutes and change. That is absolutely unacceptable. There's no urgency with this team. Todd Bowles is a horrendous game manager. He does not know how to manage the clock. Again, we are down 2 scores. We can't be taking 8 minutes off. And then again, being bailed out by the Bills with defensive penalties. So technically we should have punted a couple of times, but we are horrible with time management. We're not running no huddle. Our no huddle is taking as long as a huddle play. The clock is running out. There was one point the clock was running 3 minutes and change, and we were waiting for the game clock to get down to 4, 3, 2, and then snapping the ball. That is horrible game management, and definitely did contribute to the end of the game and not having time, especially when we did use those timeouts. So game management has been completely atrocious. And then throw in the fact we should have lost 10-24. That touchdown Mike Evans caught obviously was a fluke. It was luck. I'm so glad Mike Evans caught it. I think he's now 17th all time in touchdowns. Always going to support Evans, never going to complain about him, but it hit the helmet of a defender. And then the next play, the 2-point conversion, it was tipped in the air, and I think Cade Otton was the one who caught it. Literally like the culmination of Buccaneer football. Even when we are desperate, we still can't score without some few lucky things going our way. And these are like, you know, luck of course is involved in the NFL, but these are like ridiculous kinds of completions. Offensively, we have not looked the same since before the bye. Before the bye, we scored 20, 20, 11, 26. I know we scored 20, we had 27 against the Bears, but one of it was a pick six. I'm talking about offense only. We were averaging 19.25 points per game. Again, we could win because we were holding teams to 17, 18 points. And the offense was new. But after the bye, we scored 6, 13, and 18, and we're averaging 12.3 points per game, which is not going to win you any games in the NFL. And I think our defense now has been giving up more points. We gave up 20, I think, to Detroit. We gave up 17 to Atlanta, and now we gave up 24. I don't know what the average is, but it's pretty much 19, 20 points probably, and we're only scoring 12.3 points per game. Something happened offensively during the bye. I don't know if Bowles wanted something different or Canellis has finally figured out, because there's no way that, Baker is dropping back and every single receiving option is covered down the field, every single play. And then he's also not pulling the trigger as fast as he should. So he's holding onto the ball longer than he should. Something changed, because the first 4 games, players were wide open. We were getting nice completions. Plays look creative. It's like now, even though some play calling is creative, nobody's open. And that's definitely something wrong with that. And I want to give Canellis the benefit of the doubt. But, that was our 7th game of the season. We should show some improvement, or at least stay where we were. We can't regress the way we did. That is the offense. Again, offense, new coordinator, growing pains. Sure, we can, discredit it to that. However, defensively, we have a major issue. Josh Allen completed 31 of 40 for 324, 2 touchdowns and a pick. At one point in the first half, they had over 270 yards of offense. Josh Allen was completing anything and everything that he wanted. The run game, James Cook, 14 carries for 67 yards at 4.8 yards per carry, and Josh Allen rushed 7 for 41 yards and a touchdown. The receivers, we could not guard the receivers. Shakir got 6 for 92, Gabe Davis 9 for 87 and a touchdown, Diggs 9 for 70, and Kincaid 5 for 65 and a touchdown. For a head coach to be a mastermind of defense and this be his strong suit, the defense is not living up to expectation. And I know online, I see it on Reddit and stuff, people saying, the defense would be better if our offense could move the ball. Again, last week against Atlanta, the time of possession was virtually even. It was 2-second difference. Today, I think Buffalo had the ball maybe 2 minutes more than us. It's not a significant difference over the course of a 60-minute game to say that the defense is gassed and things like that. Anthony Nelson and Yaya Diaby have a sack each. We have no pass rush at all unless we blitz. And even when we're blitzing, we're getting beat. And then Golston had a pick, which again, Antoine Winfield, probably the MVP of our defense, hit the ball in the air when on a blitz, and Golston ended up picking it off. Yeah, it's unacceptable. I think Todd Bowles is in over his head as a head coach now, and I think changes have to come. I don't see this team changing over the remainder of the season and becoming a completely different team. There's no signs of things that are improving. I think that the notion that, we have the best red zone defense, sure, we do, but when the other team is getting into the red zone 4, 5, 6 times a game, a 50% clip of stopping them, for example, which I think is, I don't know what the number is. If we're stopping 60% of it, they're still scoring 12 points if they, you know what I'm saying? Like, they're still scoring. If we stop them in the red zone, they're scoring, 12 points on field goals, 9 points and a touchdown or 2. We are at a place offensively where if a team does score, if we're down 2 scores, it feels like a mountain to climb. Whereas in 2020, 2021, if we were down 7, down 14, it didn't feel like it was a tough mountain to climb. But the reality under a Bowles-led team is, if we're down 2 scores, the game is essentially over. I would rather a defense, I don't care if you're the best red zone defense, I'd rather a defense stop you before you get to the red zone. Force a long field goal, force some punts. There was a point in the game where right before half, they hadn't punted at all, even though they had only scored, I think, 17 points or 10 points, something like that. They hadn't kick punted at all. They had some goal line stops, field goals, things like that, and a turnover, but it's ridiculous. And then, obviously we are the worst third down defense in the league, and I think they converted 7 of 12 or something like that. That's completely unacceptable in the NFL. We're holding teams on first and second down to third long downs at times, and they're able to convert it. I think Bowles, if he is the mastermind and that is the one thing he can hang his hat on, and we are not producing defensively, then he should not be the head coach, because he can't even do what he's doing best. I think about, I didn't follow the Jets, but if I remember correctly, they had 1 year where their defense was good, and a second year they were pretty decent. And again, it's like here, last year they were pretty decent again. I think the only time we've seen success with Bowles as a defensive coordinator is when he is just a defensive coordinator. When he was in Arizona and in Tampa under Arians. When he is a head coach, he's just not you know, and I'm not saying he like all of a sudden sucks, but he has other responsibilities and he has other focuses on the team. What was ridiculous to me was when we ended up scoring, going for the 2-point conversion, which I get the logic, but it was stupid in that time and place, considering we couldn't move the ball at all. Whatever, forget that. When the Bills, where we needed to stop them and we were using our timeouts, it was 3rd and 5, I want to say. And of course, Bowles, he didn't learn from the divisional round game. He blitzed with the nickel corner, Isian, who was covering Stephon Diggs. You do not blitz the corner that's covering one of the better receivers in the NFL. Left him wide open easily. Josh Allen read it easily, threw it, got a first down, ended up milking more time and gave us the ball with like 20-some seconds left. Had he not blitzed and maybe, let's say he did cover Diggs caught it or didn't catch it and they ended up punting, we would have had, I think, 1:40 left, something like that. We definitely would have had about 1.5 minutes or maybe a little bit more. It's those decisions where he just can't help himself. And I get it, we cannot produce a pass rush. Joe Tryon-Shienka is completely worthless as a draft pick. He is not doing anything. Vita Vea is out, which makes it hard on the defensive ends, but it also is hard when one of your defensive ends is just there as a body. But yeah, Bowles is a blitzer, I get it, but his tendency to blitz at the worst times, we need to stop. This man and Josh Allen has been playing pretty well against the blitz against us. So why are we blitzing and blitzing our nickel who is covering their best receiver? Why are we having him blitz in that situation? It just doesn't seem like smart coaching. And then honestly, I just want to end it all with that Hail Mary at the end. When it happened, I laughed. I'm going to be honest. It's like the representation of Buccaneer football. We throw a Hail Mary. Chris Godwin has a chance to catch it, and the ball literally hits the ground without touching a single offensive player or defensive player. And I get it, there should have been flags, but from what I've read, refs don't really call flags on Hail Mary plays because it's like a free-for-all and it's such a low percentage play. But that was egregious. I think Al Michaels even said that they could have called a flag on a number of defenders there. Evans was getting mauled in the end zone. Chris Godwin, I watched a replay after the game ended, and you could see that Godwin was in position, but the defender like wrapped his arm around his waist area and spun him and pulled him. So by the time he actually got around and looked, it wasn't enough time to react to the ball. And I think that something as blatant as that is different than like all the bodies crowding up and they're all hitting, you know, pushing and whatever. But in that situation where Godwin got grabbed and spun, the flag should have been called there or something, because yeah, that was ridiculous. But yeah, the ball hitting the ground and not touching anybody is the perfect representation of Buccaneer football. And I know everyone online and all the sports people are going to talk about, not the professionals, like the people at their home, the couch quarterbacks are going to talk about, you know, how this was a close game and we were only a couple mistakes away. But here's the thing. If we're a couple of mistakes away every single game, we are not a good team. Good teams make up for those mistakes. When we won the Super Bowl, sure, there were mistakes, but we were able to make up for it and learn from them. We are not doing that. Todd Bowles is in over his head. He is not a good coach. I've been saying it before, and I think now officially it's been solidified. Sure, we could lose that game, but appear more competitive. But just the decisions to take an 8-minute drive and not have no urgency, and just the way we lose, even if it does end up being a close game, we are not a competitive team. And next week we play Houston Texans, I think, in Houston or maybe at home. But do we really think we can beat them? They're not too great, but they're not bad either. They have their quarterback, CJ Stroud, is playing pretty decent. So yeah, it's not looking good. Buccaneers fans, comment down below what you think. And yeah, I just can't wait for the season to be over and Bowles to be gone and us to get a draft pick, because Baker is not the answer. Canellis is, maybe he will be, but if Bowles is gone, he's going to be gone. And I think we just need a full flip of the coaching staff, because last year, again, we gave him the benefit of the doubt. The Dolphins looks as bad as last year, but the difference was last year we had Tom Brady, who could make things happen and give us comeback wins. And when we needed to drive down, like that Saints game, we needed to score quickly, Brady was able to do that. We just don't have that in Baker Mayfield, and it's hurting us. And at the end of the day, you take on the attitude of your coach, and Bowles is just not cutting it. I'm sorry. But yeah, Bucs fans, let me know what you think. And I know this is long already, but sorry, it's just, we're a bad team. Anyways, yeah, thank you for tuning in, and as always, I am out. Let's go!